Hello, everyone. Welcome to Foundation Center Facebook Live. My name is Julieta Mendez. I'm Director of Programs here at Foundation Center. And today I am joined by my colleague, Dorian Burton, who's Chief Program Officer of Keenan Charitable Trust. And Dorian is here to talk with us about the upcoming webinar that we're going to be hosting on Thursday, September 13th, 2018 at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Called Reframing the Story, Investment in Black Men and Boys is Vital to Whole Community Health. Dorian, welcome. We're very excited to have you with us. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Well, I just briefly want to mention that this webinar, Reframing the Story, Investment in Black Men and Boys is Vital to Whole Community Health, is part of Foundation Center's All Together Now Conversations in DEI, which is a webinar series that's being sponsored by Borealis. And it's a series of monthly conversations on DEI-related topics that are designed to explore the nuances of the social sector from the perspective of leaders and professionals from historically marginalized communities. So Dorian, can you please tell us a little bit about what you're going to be sharing with us on September 13th and who should be tuning in for this webinar?
Well, first, thank you guys for having us. We're going to be extremely excited to have an opportunity to talk to you guys. I think as we start to frame this conversation, you have to really think that philanthropy has one of the greatest opportunities to really build communities in equitable ways. Not only an opportunity, but an obligation to do so. I think philanthropy is not necessarily reaching its full potential right now. As we think about being able to take risk, being able to push and be innovative, but also as we think around systems levels change. Having been in this space for a while now, one of the things that you see is that philanthropy rewards individuals that can tell the worst stories the best about our communities. And so we really have to be very thoughtful about how we frame the stories, how we build the narrative, but who and how we think about our investments, particularly in Black men and boys. And I want to be really intentional about using Black men and boys specifically. I think folks pull in a variety of different languages where we avoid actually having this conversation about race and the history behind it, but not only the history, but the present. So we're going to talk around investing in communities of color, specifically around Black men and boys, to think about how when Black males thrive, our communities thrive as a whole. I think if you are an individual or represent an organization that is investing in communities of color, I think that this conversation is for you. If you really are focused on the concept of justice as opposed to charity and righting historical wrongs, I think that this conversation is for you. And as you think about your own personal growth in this work, as we all do, I think this conversation will challenge you in the best of ways and hopefully be able to push you to your learning edge around this work.
Wonderful. Dorian, tell us a little bit about your journey. What inspired you to become involved in this work?
Absolutely. So I grew up in Rialto, California, in the very communities that we're talking about. So this is a story that is deeply personal to me as a Black male. As somebody who has grown up in underappreciated communities that I think systems have very intentionally not served well. And thinking about the opportunities that have been created for folks that chose to make investments in me, chose to pour in me, and chose to really believe in the potential. Black communities, what you often hear is a narrative that would promote that we're broken. That individuals are broken. And to be really clear, I think we have to be able to talk around we have broken systems, not broken people. And if you don't push on that narrative and really examine it and bring it to work with you every day, then you can run the risk of thinking that a community is inherently deficient, which we know that that's not true. As a person, I'm a father as well. I have 2 small Black boys. And I want to make sure that we're creating that future in the space where they can thrive. I have Black boys right now that would grow to be Black men, God willing. But when we have to have that worry and that thought around, are they going to make it home for playing their music too loud, or for going to get a bag of Skittles and an iced tea, or if they're if they're stopped in an inappropriate situation, what does that really look like for them? And so this is a conversation that, again, is deeply personal to me, but actually I think it's to the soul of our nation, and who I think as a country we're striving to be. I think you often hear a lot, that's not who we are as Americans. Well, I think that's who we are as Americans right now. It might not be who we strive to be. But in order to get there, I think it's going to require all of us to do some heavy lifting and some deep reflection about, do we actually have the will to do it?
Yep. What is one thing that our audience will walk away with after attending the webinar with you and your colleagues?
I think you'll walk away with a deep understanding about why this work is important. As you think about whole community health, thinking about paid in full investments. And what we mean by that is really thinking about not any one silver bullet solution to this work. In philanthropy, we often talk about making big bets, saying, we're going to do this one thing and it's going to be this kind of silver bullet. You do this and a miracle happens. And we know that those investments, although they might have some success, we need to think about communities in their whole, right? The problems and the challenges that face our communities don't happen in isolation, and so the solutions can't either. So the same bets that we're making for our families around economic development, around workforce, around our health, around our housing, around our justice system, are the same bets that we should be making around communities of color.
Yes.
And so I think they'll walk away with an understanding around what that actually looks like. I think they'll walk away with some tangible tools to be able to take back to their organizations as they go about their work, in terms of building asset framing, understanding what it looks to really build from the community on, and also being really thoughtful around saying, in this work, am I creating a table and mapping a reform onto a community, or am I finding the table that was already created, and walking into communities with the assumption that there's already assets there, and changing my language, making sure I'm not further perpetuating. You can only treat somebody as good as you talk about them. So we want to be really clear about how we're addressing this work, and how we're uplifting, I think, a truer narrative around who our Black community are, but also specifically who our Black men and boys are.
Yes, and I should add, Dorian, that you are going to be joined by a few other colleagues, including Dr. Brian Barnes, who's a co-founder and CEO of Tandem ED, Sean Dove, who's the CEO of the Campaign for Black Male Achievement, Travian Shorters, who's the founding CEO of the BME community, and then Anthony Smith, who's the CEO of Cities United. So we're looking forward to having all of you here with us on that day. My final question, and this is more of a fun-like question because we like to get to know our presenters as people, not just as talking heads, and that is, what is your favorite dessert?
So listen, you guys bring me chocolate chip cookies, I'll be your friend forever. I like chocolate chip cookies, but like the Pillsbury ones that you got like cooking things. So it works for me. I'm a cookie guy, and have been a cookie fan. Again, thank you so much for having us. I'm looking forward to folks being able to join us. It's going to be a great group, having a great conversation. And you're going to be hearing from practitioners in the field. These are folks that live this work every day. They take it home with them, and are really, if you see how these guys work, it is a sight to see, but you know that they're working with that passion. And with the idea that they're really going to have an impact in our communities and in the world.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dorian, and we'll continue to be in touch. Have a great day.
You too.